everything that ever happened to you in your life happened to you in the present moment. That is, the future and the past are nothing more than illusions. They all occur in the present moment. You know, there's an old saying that says, I'm an old man and I've had many troubles, most of which have never happened. And, you know, it's like these are all things that we create for ourselves in our mind. Just know that whatever it is that is coming your way, know that it is all for your highest good. Who could ask for anything more than that? Think of it instead of what might happen in the future. Ask yourself this question whenever one of those thoughts pops into your head. That is, why am I using up this present moment, which is all I get in life, all I'll ever get? Why would I want to use it being consumed with something that might or might not happen down the road? And the more you're able to do that and be there and send that worry thought away, because the worry thought is nothing more than how you're choosing to use up this present moment by consuming yourself with worry. Guilt is the opposite of that. Guilt is using up the present moment to be concerned about something that you did or didn't do or should have done or didn't do right, but you're still doing it in the present moment. So worry and guilt, in my book, Your Erroneous Zones, I call these the useless emotions. They're just useless because all they do is take you away from the moment and have you fill up the moment with something other than what you want to be doing, which is to be in a fully functioning, loving, present moment experience all the time, just being in the now. And if you want to learn how to do that, go out and watch your animals. You know, because I wrote a book years ago called The Sky's the Limit, and one of the chapters is called First Be a Good Animal. And there's so much that we can learn from the creatures out there. Like an otter isn't worried about, you know, whether it's a mate that's going to leave it 2 months from now, or whether, you know, whether it likes somebody else better, or any of those kinds of things. It's just in the moment. It's being an otter. Just be an otter. Just enjoy the moment. And you'll find that all of that other stuff will just pass exactly the way it's supposed to. It's all unfold perfectly. And everybody who comes into our life, by the way, everybody who comes in, it's like a play. You know, they have certain roles to play. Some of them in for the whole act. Usually, your parents and grandparents and so on, they're in for every act of the play. And some of them come in for a short time and then they leave, and some come back. And you know, everybody's making entrances and exits, and ultimately we all exit the play, don't we? It's all of that anxiety and that stress and that fear and that worry. All you're doing is wasting the present moments of your life, filling them with something that you could otherwise be filling them with. And that's what I would be asking you if I were your therapist. Like, what is it that you could be doing in the moments when you're worried about whether your husband's going to find someone more suited to you? What could you be doing other than that? Supposing that your mind wasn't capable of thinking that thought, you know, what would your life look like? Yeah, if you couldn't think that thought, you would be happy. So the only thing that keeps you from being happy isn't your husband or isn't you, it's that thought. And if you just decide that I'm in charge of what thoughts that I have, you know, and so now you say, okay, you just go onto you use your imagination, and you go into this imaginary place where you just assume, I can't think that thought. My brain isn't capable of making the chemicals that are going to allow that thought. And then you start realizing that I am now content. You would be free. You would be joyful. You know, you have a deep knowing inside of you that you are totally unlimited. I mean, I sit here right now at the age of 68, and I know that if I decided to change careers right now and just go into something completely different, something I had never even done before, that I know that it's all I would have to do is put my attention on it, and the universe would send me, you know, the right people, the right events, the right circumstances. It would all just begin to show up. You almost get a sense of that whatever it is I want to manifest or attract into my life, whatever it might be, that there's absolutely no limit to it whatsoever. And you get, the right word isn't arrogant, but it's the word that keeps going. You get almost like a knowing that is so powerful that there's nothing can dissuade you from it, you know? Nothing can come in there and say, no, this can't happen, this isn't going to work, these are all the obstacles, these are all the reasons why. All of that stuff is, that's the work of other people. That's the work of people in the past who have tried to make these, try to make your life safe and try to do the right thing by you, and all with good intentions, but always with limitations, and always you have to watch out for the outcome. You're moving into the same place that you're going to move into when you die, when you leave this body behind, this place of oneness. And oneness is a very difficult concept for us to grasp, because we're always in two-ness. We're always in, not just the thing, but the symbol of the thing and what will happen and what circumstances might. And we introduce conflict. There's always this inclination of the mind to go into this area of conflict but what ifs but when you're in oneness, when you're in total oneness, it's all perfect. And every one of these thoughts that are bombarding your consciousness now, they're coming in there just to sort of wake you up and have you realize that there's absolutely no limits whatsoever. You just make the decision, whichever way you want to go. Practice living the virtues, practice being out there and serving and honoring others and servicing yourself and God and our planet. And the right thing will come your way. By thinking small, by thinking about what I can do in this moment. There's just this knowing that this isn't me doing it all. You're letting yourself be lived by it, just letting it take you wherever it's going to take you and being at peace with it.
There is a stillness behind every breath you take, a place untouched by fear, unsullied by judgment, unbroken by time. It is the space of your being, eternal and present. And in that space, the great miracle of transformation begins not through striving, not through control, not through the clenched fists of resistance, but through the open hands of acceptance. Acceptance is not surrender, it is not apathy, it is not weakness. It is the courageous, soul-deep acknowledgement that this moment as it is enough. Not because it conforms to your expectations, not because it gives you everything you think you need, but because it simply is. And in its isness, it is sacred. Transformation begins the moment you stop arguing with reality. The moment you cease demanding that life should have gone another way. The moment you unclench from the past, loosen your grip on your imagined future, and soften into the now. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of presence, the power of trust, the power of alignment with a deeper wisdom that transcends your intellect. Most people believe change begins when the outside world shifts, when the job is found, when the partner returns, when the pain finally disappears. But the truth, the deep and liberating truth, is that change begins inside. It begins when you turn toward your life and not to fix it, not to escape it, but to be with it. To embrace what is, so that what is no longer needed can fall away. There is an old story you've been telling. A story of what should have happened, of what you've lost, of what they did. A story of shame or blame or regret. You carry it like a backpack of bricks, hoping it will finally bring justice or clarity or control. But the story is not your salvation. The story is your chain. And acceptance is the key that unlocks the door. To accept is not to approve. To accept is to see clearly, to stand still in the presence of what is, without flinching, without running, without denial. There's a kind of sacred vision that comes only when the ego quiets its complaints, when the heart stops closing doors, and when the soul is given the microphone. Acceptance is the posture of the soul. When you accept your past, it cannot haunt you. When you accept your emotions, they cannot drown you. When you accept yourself, your light, your darkness, your flaws, your beauty, you stop waiting to become someone else, and you finally arrive as yourself. This world does not need more perfected personas. It does not need more masks or performances. It needs realness. It needs presence. It needs the radiant authenticity that pours from someone who has looked at every broken part of themselves and said, yes, even this, I will not turn away. The pain you resist becomes your prison. The moment you say, this should not be, you cast yourself into inner war. But the moment you say, this is what is, you return to peace. From that peace, true change can risen not as a frantic sprint, away from what you hate, but as a gentle, guided unfolding toward who you really are. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by force. It does not rip its own skin off in rebellion. It goes still. It surrenders. It cocoons into darkness and accepts the disintegration of all it has known. Only then can the wings form. Only then can the transformation take flight. You too must be willing to enter that sacred cocoon, to stop trying to be elsewhere, to stop judging your sadness, your anger, your confusion. These are not signs of failure. They are invitations to feel, to heal, to listen, to love. The ego will fight this. It wants movement. It wants drama. It wants victory through struggle. But the soul speaks a quieter language. It whispers in stillness. It heals through presence. And it transforms through acceptance. You have not been broken by your past. You have been shaped by it, tempered, refined, initiated. The fire did not destroy you, it revealed you. The rain did not drown, you washed away what you were never meant to carry. And the darkness was not a punishment, it was a womb, a place of becoming. Acceptance is how you make peace with the womb. It is how you sit inside the mystery and say, I don't need to understand this to trust it. The oak tree does not understand the storm, but it does not resist it. It bends, it roots, it waits, and when the winds come, it is stronger, deeper, wiser. You have carried expectations like shields, assumptions like swords, but these weapons do not protect you. They separate you from others, from peace, from your own divine nature. Lay them down. Let the story of who you thought you had to be dissolved. Return to your original self, the one who needed no reason to be worthy, the one who knew how to dance in the rain, the one who loved without a why. You are not here to control the river. You are here to learn how to float, how to feel the current beneath you and trust it is carrying you exactly where you need to go. Resistance is exhaustion. Acceptance is grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow, something you receive when you stop trying to deserve it. Grace enters when your hands are open, not clenched. It enters when your heart is soft, not armored. It enters through the door of acceptance. That door has always been waiting for you to step out of the courtroom of your mind and into the sanctuary of your spirit, waiting for you to stop defending and start discovering, waiting for you to see that there is nothing wrong with you only thoughts that told you there was. Even the pain, even the failure, even the lonely, none of it was wrong. All of it was part of your becoming, part of your sacred curriculum. And when you accept that, the pain becomes wisdom, the failure becomes freedom, and the loneliness becomes a gateway to the divine. Keep breathing, keep softening, keep letting go of the need for life to be other than it is. What if everything you've been trying to fix is already perfect in its unfolding? What if the healing isn't something you achieve, but something you stop resisting? You are not a problem to be solved. You are a soul to be felt. You are a mystery to be lived. You are a wave of divine intelligence moving through a temporary form, and every experience is a note in the song of your awakening. And the song doesn't need to be rewritten, it only needs to be heard. You are not your past, you are not your pain, you are not even the name you answer to, you are the witness behind it all. The presence that observes, that breathes, that remains, and in that witnessing, in that sacred noticing, you begin to awaken. You begin to realize that nothing outside of you has the authority to define your worth. Only your own awareness can do that. And awareness, when paired with acceptance, becomes liberation. How long will you wait for permission to be at peace? How many years will you spend negotiating with the past, bargaining with the future, trying to twist yourself into some idea of enough? What if you paused right now and said, this is enough, I am enough, and I no longer need to be at war with life? There is such relief in no longer needing to fight. Not because you've given up, but because you've risen up. Risen into a higher truth, where peace is not earned through struggle, but remembered through surrender. In this remembering, your entire life becomes softer. It becomes more honest. You stop chasing illusions and you begin to live. The soul does not speak in demands. It speaks in invitations. And every moment is an invitation to return to your breath, to your body, to your truth. To return to the quiet space beneath the noise where life simply is. No judgments, no stories, just now, just presence, just being. Most people live in a cage built by their own minds. The bars are made of expectations and the lock is resistance. But the key has always been in your hands. It's called acceptance. And when you use it, the cage disappears not because the world changed, but because your vision did. Imagine the peace that arises when you no longer need to control how others see you. Imagine the freedom when you stop trying to rewrite the past. Imagine the love you can offer yourself when you stop demanding that you be any different than you are. This is not complacency. It is awakening. The seed does not judge itself for not yet being a tree. It simply allows the rain, welcomes the sun, and trusts the unfolding. So must you. You were never meant to be anyone else. Your pain, your past, your peculiarities, they are not deviations from your path. They are your path. They are the exact conditions necessary for your soul to flower. Stop wishing they were different. Start listening to what they are here to teach. Acceptance is not the end of transformation. It is the beginning. When you finally stop trying to escape the moment becomes your teacher. When you stop resisting what is, you begin to receive what is. And that receiving is where healing begins. You may believe that you'll accept life once it gets better. But in truth, life gets better the moment you accept it. Because your suffering has never come from the moment itself. It has come from the thought that the moment should be something else. When you stop arguing with what is, your energy returns to you. And that energy can be used for love, for creativity, for connection, for truth. Resistance drains, acceptance replenishes. In the presence of acceptance, fear dissolves, because fear feeds on control. But when you accept that you do not need to control, fear loses its grip. And in that loosening, a deeper trust is born not in the mind, but in life itself. You begin to see that everything that has ever happened was not in the way, but on the way. Every detour, every heartbreak, every delay it was all divine choreography. You may not have chosen the pain, but the pain chose you for a reason. Not to punish, but to purify. Not to destroy, but to awaken. And when you accept that, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you begin to ask, what is this here to reveal in me? That shift changes everything. It shifts you from victim to vessel, from resentment to reverence, from anxiety to awe. The truth is, nothing needs to change for you to be free. Freedom is not a future destination. It is a present realization. It is a choice to see what is without resistance, without judgment, without running away. And when you truly see it, you begin to love it. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's yours, because it brought you here. And here this sacred, raw, imperfect here is where the divine lives. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin living. This is the moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this rising and falling of the chest. The divine is not elsewhere. It is right here. In the messy, the mundane, the misunderstood, this is where your transformation begins. It begins when you soften instead of harden, when you stay instead of flee, when you say yes to what is, even when it breaks your heart, especially when it breaks your heart. Because the heart must break open for the soul to shine through. And oh, how it shines. Not through the perfect mask of a polished life, but through the cracks, the flaws, the places where the light got in. Your scars are not your shame. They are your sanctuaries. Places where you were cracked open and still chose love. You are not here to prove anything. You are here to remember everything, to remember that you are whole, that you are held, that you are a wave of divine light temporarily having a human experience. And acceptance is how you remember. When you stop trying to be someone else, you come home to who you already are. And that home is not a place of perfection, it is a place of peace. A place where you can rest, where you can breathe, where you can finally lay down the burden of becoming and rise into the grace of being. This is the real miracle. Not that you changed life, but that you changed your relationship with life. That you chose to see with new eyes, to listen with an open heart, to walk not in fear, but in faith. And this faith is not blind, it is intimate. It is rooted in a knowing that cannot be explained, only felt. A knowing that whispers, even this is part of it. Even this has a place. Even this can be holy. The rain has never apologized for falling. The ocean does not regret its waves. The mountain does not wish to be smaller, and neither should you. Accept yourself as nature accepts itself unapologetically, unconditionally, unreservedly, because only when you accept yourself can you truly love yourself. And only when you love yourself can you truly love others. All transformation begins here, not out there, not later, but here. In the quiet revolution of accepting this moment, this breath, this you. So breathe, return, and open the door. Not the door of striving or proving, but the door of surrender. The door of yes. The door that has been waiting for you all along. And when you walk through that door, you do not find escape. You find arrival. You do not find perfection. You find peace. You do not find answers. You find acceptance. And that is the beginning of everything. Let this be your sacred turning point, not in outer form, but in inner knowing. Let this be the moment you say to yourself, with all the tenderness in the world, I will no longer resist this life. I will no longer push against this moment. I will accept myself. I will accept this path. I will accept the presence of the divine in all things. And as you do, the door swings open, the light floods in, the burdens drop away, and transformation no longer feels like effort. It feels like truth. It feels like peace. It feels like home. But don't just accept what feels easy. Accept even what you do not understand. Accept the mess. Accept the noise. Accept the days when the answers do not come. Because those are the days your spirit is doing its deepest work. The soil does not resist the seed just because it does not yet bloom. It holds it. It keeps it safe. And so must you hold your process without judgment, without haste, without shame. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken or lost. You are exactly where you are meant to, but not as a punishment, not as a failure, but as a sacred pause, a necessary inhale before the next unfolding. Stop measuring your growth with someone else's ruler. Your journey is too sacred for comparison. There is a wisdom in the silence. There is healing in the slowness, but only if you can accept it. If you can sit with the discomfort and allow it to soften you. Let life knead you like clay, molding you not into perfection, but into presence. And presence is where love lives. Can you love yourself when you're not performing? Can you honor your soul when you're not being praised? Can you sit in your solitude and still feel divine? Because that's what it means to accept yourself. Not when you're polished, not when you're accomplished, but now. In the sweat, in the uncertainty, in the imperfection. This is what real healing looks like, not the erasing of scars, but the honoring of them. Not pretending you were never wounded, but bowing to the strength it took to survive. You are not here to hide your story. You are here to illuminate it, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testimony of rising. So let the pain be part of your poetry. Let the failures be folded into your freedom. Let the heartbreak become holy. There is no part of your experience that is not worthy of reverence. Nothing that needs to be exiled from the sacred space of your becoming. And if tears come, let them fall. Do not apologize for feeling. Do not harden just to be accepted. Because the truth is, your softness is your strength. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are rivers that carve valleys of compassion into your soul. Let them flow. Let them teach. Let them reveal the truth you've hidden beneath the armor. You are safe now. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to defend. You don't have to explain your light to those committed to seeing you dim. Just be. Just breathe. Just stand in your sacred yes. Because when you stop chasing the life you think you should have, the life that was always meant for you can finally arrive. And when it does, you'll recognize it not by how perfect it looks, but by how peaceful it feels. That's how you'll know you're home. Not because everything outside is fixed, but because something inside is finally free. Free from resistance. Free from expectation. Free from the self-imposed pressure to constantly become in that freedom. You realize, I was never meant to strive my way into peace. I was only meant to remember that I am peace itself. This remembrance changes everything. It shifts your entire vibration. It reorients your path, not away from difficulty, but toward truth. Because truth doesn't always feel comfortable, but it always sets you free. And the deepest truth is this: you are enough, as you are, right now. Not one more achievement, not one more apology, not one more moment of proving is required. You were born worthy, and nothing this world can give or take can alter that. Acceptance is how you reclaim this truth, not by doing, but by allowing. Allow yourself to exhale. Allow yourself to soften. Allow yourself to be held not by another person, but by the infinite, eternal presence that has carried you from the beginning. You are not separate from it. You are it. You are the presence you've been seeking. You are the divine disguised in human skin. And in this knowing, you stop running, you stop performing, you stop pushing away parts of yourself to be loved. You realize you don't need to be different to be whole. You need to be here to be real, to be open, to be willing to accept the pain that shaped you, the joy that sustained you, the unknown that continues to call you forward. Willing to accept that life is not a straight line, but a spiral staircase, and every return, every detour, every descent is part of the rising. Willing to accept that maybe the mountain you've been trying to climb is already within you. Maybe there's nowhere to go but deeper, deeper into stillness, deeper into self, deeper into this miraculous now. Because when you live from acceptance, you no longer live in delay. You no longer postpone your peace. You no longer wait for permission to love your life. You simply begin, right here, right now. And beginning doesn't mean changing everything. It means loving what already is. It means saying yes to the life that has said yes to you all along. So say yes. Say yes to your breath. Say yes to your history. Say yes to the places that still ache and the parts that have already healed. Say yes to the soul that longs to be felt and the love that lives just beneath your fear. Because when you say yes to all of it, transformation becomes inevitable. You cannot truly accept something and remain unchanged. Acceptance is the alchemy. The fire that doesn't burn you but reveals the gold beneath the soot. And the gold is this: you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. You are not the pain. You are the awareness holding the pain. And that awareness, your eternal self, is untouchable, indestructible, and already whole. In this space, there is nothing left to fix, only more to feel, more to welcome, more to remember. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the you that danced in the rain, that trusted the wind, that didn't question your worth, because worth wasn't something you earned, it was something you were. And so you return, not as a stranger, not as a project, but as a soul who remembers. You return to life, not as a battleground, not as a test, but as a temple, a holy invitation to presence, to wonder, to joy. You return to yourself, not as a critic, not as a warrior, but as a lover, a gentle witness, a compassionate guide. And from that place of inner union, where all parts of you are seen, heard, and loved, life begins to flow again. Not perfectly, not predictably, but freely. You no longer need to push. You no longer need to prove. You simply walk in the direction of truth. With each step, the path reveals itself. With each breath, the burden lifts. With each moment of acceptance, transformation deepens. And at last, you understand the door was never locked. It was only waiting for you to stop resisting. And now that you have, you are free. So here you are now, not broken, but blooming. Not lost, but found in the stillness. Not waiting, but awakening. And all of it began, not with a battle, not with a breakthrough, but with a breath, with the simplest, most radical act of all acceptance. You didn't have to travel the world. You didn't have to become someone else. You only had to say yes. Yes to this moment, yes to this self, yes to the mystery of your becoming. And in that, yes, the struggle faded, the illusion dissolved, the noise quieted, and what remained was peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped demanding that life be different. You stopped needing to outrun your past. You stopped fearing the shadows in you. And you looked at it all and said, even this is worthy. Even this is sacred. Even this belongs. And with those words, you came home. So walk forward now, not hurried, not hardened, but whole. Let your steps be soft, your heart be open, your eyes see the divine in all things. And let every breath you take be a gentle reminder. You were never meant to resist your life. You were meant to live it, to feel it, to embrace it, to accept it. And in that sacred acceptance, to be transformed, you are already free. You are already whole. You are already home. And everything begins from here. There is a moment when the soul becomes still, a moment when the noise of the world softens just enough for something ancient and familiar to be heard again. A whisper, like wind brushing across the eternal, calling you home. Not to a place, not to a religion, but to yourself. And in that sacred stillness, a truth emerges that changes everything. God does not test you, life reflects you. The clouds in the sky are not responsible for the sun's light, nor can they extinguish it. They only appear to cover it. And so too with the experiences of your life. They are not judgments from a distant God who watches you from afar and issues tests to prove your worth. No. Life is not a cosmic classroom where God plays the role of examiner and you are the trembling student hoping to pass. Life is a mirror and you are the artist painting what you believe onto its surface. The divine does not give you hardship as punishment. The divine is not some cruel overseer tallying your failures and rewarding your pain with trials. The divine is pure love, unconditional and ever-present, and what you meet in the world is not divine wrath, but your own reflection, filtered through your beliefs, your wounds, your thoughts, and your identity. You were never being tested. You were being shown over and over again, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of seeing. The circumstances you attract, the people who appear, the pain you face, they are not punishments, they are projections. They are the echoes of your inner landscape made visible. Life is not something that happens to you, it is something that flows from you. You are not the effect, you are the cause. And when you understand this, not just in your mind, but in your bones, something begins to shift. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what within me is ready to be revealed, healed, and released? This is not blame, this is liberation. Because if life is reflecting you, then nothing is truly against you. If life mirrors your energy, your expectations, your self-concept, then you are never powerless. You are profoundly free. Free to choose again, free to see again, free to remember who you truly are, beneath the conditioned thoughts, beneath the childhood stories, beneath the societal masks. You are not here to be tested. You are here to awaken. The idea that God tests you comes from fear. It comes from the wounded child inside you that learned to equate love with performance, acceptance with suffering. It comes from generations of conditioning taught to revere a God of judgment rather than a God of love. But God is not watching you. God is within you. And not just within you as your breath, as your being, as your every sacred step through this human experience. The divine is not outside, waiting to reward or condemn. The divine is the source of your consciousness, the silent space between your thoughts, the formless awareness witnessing the play of your life. God does not sit on a throne in the clouds, handing out suffering like lessons. No. The presence of God is like the sky, vast, unshakable, and always there, no matter the storm. Life reflects your storm, not God's will. When you carry unworthiness in your heart, life will echo it through rejection. When you believe you are alone, life will mirror it through abandonment. When you fear you are not enough, life will paint it in every face that fails to see your worth. But this is not a test. It is a revelation. It is the universe holding up a mirror and whispering, look, not to judge, but to free. Because you cannot change what you do not see. And life in its infinite love is showing you all that stands between you and your divine self. Not to harm you, but to heal you. If a child falls while learning to walk, do you say the floor is testing him? Of course not. You recognize it as part of growth. And the same is true of you. Life does not test you, it teaches you. Not through punishment, but through patterns. Not through suffering, but through reflection. Everything in your life is feedback, not verdict. And yet, how often we mistake the mirror for the cause. We look at the reflection, the pain, the heartbreak, the failure, and we cry out to the heavens, why me? But the real question is, what is this showing me? Not what did I do wrong, but what is ready to be undone. There are no enemies in your life story, only mirrors. And some of them are sharp, some of them hurt, some of them shatter the illusions you've clung to for years. But even these are not there to break you. They are there to awaken you to the truth. You are not the story. You are not the wound. You are not the identity formed in fear. You are the awareness behind it all. You are the ocean, not the wave. And when you remember this, not just intellectually, but spiritually, you stop fearing what shows up. You start welcoming it as a messenger. Even the painful parts, even the losses, even the betrayals. Because now you know they are not tests from God. They are reflections of what is seeking transformation within. The world outside will always echo the world inside. You cannot plant seeds of fear and harvest peace. You cannot dwell in lack and expect abundance to flow. You cannot carry resentment and expect love to bloom. But you can choose again, and that is your power. You were made in the image of God, and that means not an image of form, but an image of essence, of creation, of intention, of divine authorship. And authors are not at the mercy of their story. They shape it. So the question is no longer, why is this happening to me? But what story am I writing with my thoughts, with my beliefs, with the vibration I carry into each moment? This is not about shame. This is not about blame. This is about awakening to the truth of your spiritual authorship. You cannot control every event, no. But you can transform the energy you bring to it, and by doing so, you shift what it reflects back. If you want the world to reflect peace, be peace. If you want the world to reflect love, be love. If you want the world to reflect abundance, live from gratitude, not grasping. If you want the world to reflect wholeness, stop seeing yourself as broken. Because the world is not testing your strength, it is showing you where you forgot your strength. The world is not punishing your choices, it is unveiling the beliefs behind them. And those beliefs are not you. They were given to you, often unconsciously, often in pain, but you do not have to keep them. You can return them like an old costume that no longer fits the light that now radiates from within. You are not your fear. You are not your failure. You are not your family's limitations. You are not your history. You are the light that sees all of it and still chooses love. And that love is your divine inheritance. Not because you earned it, but because you are it. Let go of the idea that you must earn God's favor. You cannot earn what is already yours. You can only remember. You can only return. Life is not a test you must pass to be worthy of love. Life is a reflection inviting you to see where you stopped loving yourself so you can return to it, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. Because when you return to love, you return to God. Not as something separate, but as something essential, something eternal, something that has always been the truth of you. The light was never gone. You just forgot it was inside you. You were not sent here to suffer through divine experiments. You were not tossed into life as a subject in some celestial laboratory to be examined, graded, or judged. That is the projection of a mind that still believes in separation. That is the voice of ego disguised as humility. The voice that says, I am small and the universe is vast and cruel. But the truth is this, the universe is not against you. The universe is in you. And it responds not to your words, not to your fears, not to your begging. It responds to your essence. It reflects your vibration like a mirror reflects your image. It doesn't decide what to reflect. It simply shows what is already there. And so when life seems cruel, ask gently, what am I holding that hurts so deeply to be seen? When life is silent, ask, what truth within me have I ignored for too long? When patterns repeat, ask, what in me has not yet been met with love? Because the external world is the outpicturing of your internal beliefs. Your relationships echo your sense of worth. Your work mirrors your self-expression. Your finances reflect your inner trust in abundance or fear of lack. Even the way strangers treat you often reflects how you have learned to treat yourself. You are not being punished. You are being illuminated. That ache in your chest is not a divine burden, it's a call. That betrayal you endured is not a karmic slap, it's a mirror inviting you to release the story that says you are not safe to trust. That loss you carry is not proof of cosmic cruelty, it is life showing you that clinging is not the same as loving. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are not being tested by some distant hand in the sky. You are being remembered by life itself. Life is a sacred teacher, not a cruel examiner. And every soul you meet, every event you endure, every challenge you face, they all carry one secret message, whispered beneath the noise. Come back. Come back to the truth of what you are. When you were born, you came into this world with no beliefs, no fears, no shame, no guilt, just awareness, just being, just light wrapped in form. And then slowly, unconsciously, you were taught how to see yourself. You were taught how to measure your worth. You were taught to fear rejection, to seek approval, to earn love. And as you adopted these beliefs, beliefs that were never yours to begin with, life began to reflect them. Not as punishment, but as guidance. Life is a faithful mirror. It cannot reflect what is not there. It simply shows you what you have chosen to carry. So, if the world feels heavy, it is time to put something down. If people continue to abandon you, it is time to stop abandoning yourself. If chaos surrounds you, it may be time to return to inner stillness. This is the great shift, the sacred inversion from believing that life is happening to you to realizing that life is happening through you. And when you awaken to this, everything softens. You stop fighting the waves and learn to float with them. You stop yelling at the mirror and begin to change the one who stands before it. And yet even this knowing is not a cause for self-blame. This is not about condemning yourself for the reality you've experienced. It is about awakening to your participation in the creation of it and claiming your power to choose again. You are not a victim of life. You are the very essence from which life emerges. You are the consciousness that calls it forth. You are the light that gives form to the formless. And the formless, that which we call God, does not sit above you with tests in hand. That formless is the field in which all things arise. It is not measuring your performance, it is dancing with your frequency. The divine is not grading you, it is responding to you. Not because it is emotional, not because it is personal, but because it is pure reflection. And that means this: if you want to change the world, you see, you must change the self you bring to the seeing. You cannot beg the mirror to smile unless you first smile yourself. You cannot scream at the water to become still unless you still your hand. You cannot demand love from a world that reflects your fear of being unlovable. The change does not begin with life. The change begins within you. This is the freedom the ego fears the most, because it means there is no one else to blame. But it also means there is no one else in your way. You are the painter. You are the canvas. You are the brushstroke and the vision. And life is the gallery wall, displaying your inner masterpiece in every moment. So what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe you deserve? What do you believe God is? Because your answer to those questions will show up not just in your prayers, but in your patterns. Your patterns are your living theology. They show you what you really believe, not what you say you believe, but what your soul has come to accept as truth. And when you see that your life has been built upon beliefs that do not serve you, do not love you, do not honor your divine nature, that is not a moment for shame. That is a moment of rebirth. You can begin again not by trying to fix the reflection, but by loving the one who casts it. You do not need to control the world. You need only to come home to the part of you that believed it had to. The ego says, I must fix the outside so I can feel peace. The soul whispers, be peace, and the outside will reflect what I have become. This is not philosophy, this is physics of the soul. Consciousness creates reality, emotion is energy in motion. What you radiate, you recreate. What you suppress, you attract. What you forgive, you free. What you bless, blesses you. And the great illusion of separation, the lie that says, I am here and God is somewhere else, that lie is the root of all suffering. Because the moment you believe you are separate from the divine, you begin to believe that life must be earned, that love must be proven, that suffering must be deserved. But none of that is true. You were born worthy. You were born whole. You were born light wrapped in flesh. And even though you forgot, even though you were taught otherwise, even though the world mirrored back a story of lack and fear, that light has never gone out. It cannot be taken. It cannot be tested. It can only be remembered. And life, beautiful, painful, miraculous life, is the great remembering. Each mirror you encounter, whether gentle or jagged, is a divine invitation. Will you recognize yourself in this? Will you reclaim the power you gave away? Will you love the part of you that forgot how lovable it truly is? This is not about denial. This is not about spiritual bypass. It is not about pretending pain is pleasant or that trauma is illusion. No, this is about facing all of it with the deepest truth in your heart. You are not being punished. You are being revealed. And the more you awaken to that, the more your life begins to reflect a higher truth, not the story of who you've been, but the radiance of who you truly are. When the clouds pass and the light returns, you do not accuse the sun of hiding from you. You understand it was always there, steady, unwavering, faithful, and so it is with your true self. You were never forsaken. You were never diminished in the eyes of the divine. You only stood in your own shadow. You only forgot to turn inward. The pain you carried was not proof of divine punishment. It was the loud knocking of suppressed truth. trying to be felt. The repeating heartbreaks were not signs of a cursed life. They were echoes of the same inner belief playing on loop, I am not enough. Not because it was ever true, but because it was learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is remembered can be rewritten. And what has been wounded can be witnessed back into wholeness. Life is not God's judgment. Life is your echo. It is your frequency and form. It is your self-talk made manifest. It is the invisible inner dialogue playing out on the stage of time and circumstance. And if that dialogue is built upon fear, unworthiness, guilt, and shame, then life must echo it because the mirror cannot lie. But if that inner dialogue begins to shift, begins to soften, begins to remember the truth that you are divine, that you are enough, that you are safe, then life too begins to shift. Not immediately, not all at once, but inevitably. For just as your reflection in water does not smile until you smile first, life cannot show you peace until you choose to carry it within. And oh, how often we have misunderstood this. How often we have begged the mirror to change. How often we have pleaded with life to give us a sign, to send us a break, to end the storm, not realizing that the storm outside is often the only way the soul can get our attention within. Because the soul is not interested in comfort, it is interested in truth. And truth, at first, can feel like fire. It burns away illusion. It scorches what was never real. It dismantles everything built on fear and calls you into the great vulnerability of surrender. But beyond the fire, there is clarity. Beyond the collapse, there is liberation. And beyond the breaking, there is a deeper blooming than you have ever known. You see, the tests you thought were from God were not tests at all. They were mirrors. They were messages. They were sacred whispers clothed in chaos. And all along, the question was not, will you pass this test? But will you finally see that nothing outside of you can define you? Not your failures, not your heartbreaks, not your trauma, not your achievements, not your titles, not your bank account, not even your pain, because the divine never asks for your perfection, only for your presence. Not for your proof, only for your remembrance. Not for you to pass the test, only for you to see that the test was never real. There is no celestial scoreboard. There is no divine disappointment. There is only the unfolding of your own awakening, moment by moment, mirror by mirror, breath by breath. And what grace it is, what divine genius, that life is structured this way, that no matter how lost you feel, no matter how many times you forget, the world keeps reflecting exactly what is asking to be seen within you, so that nothing is wasted, so that even your darkest hour becomes a teacher, so that every mistake is just a doorway to deeper awareness. You are not broken, you are breaking open. You are not late. You are right on divine time. You are not being judged. You are being refined. And every person who has triggered you, every moment that has brought you to your knees, every painful mirror that has reflected back your fears, they were not there to condemn you. They were there to awaken you to your own false beliefs. Beliefs you no longer need to carry. And when you begin to see this, truly see it, something inside you begins to shift. You stop needing to defend. You stop needing to prove. You stop needing the world to be different so that you can feel safe. Because now, your safety does not come from the outer world, it comes from your inner alignment. Your peace no longer depends on who stays or who goes. Your joy no longer hinges on the outcome. Your worth no longer swings on the pendulum of external approval. You become rooted. You become spacious. You become still in a way that shakes the ground beneath old stories. And from that stillness, a new reflection begins to form. Life begins to echo back not your wounds, but your wisdom. Not your fear, but your faith. Not your ego, but your essence. And this is not magic, it is alignment. This is not superstition, it is spiritual law. You are the seed and the soil. You are the sun and the shadow. You are the one you have been waiting for. And the world, beautiful, shimmering, responsive world, is your canvas, your mirror, your sacred partner in awakening. It will not lie to you. It cannot. It will always reflect the vibration you carry. Not to hurt you, but to help you remember. To remember that God is not the author of your suffering. God is the light within you, calling you to rise above it. To remember that your life is not a punishment, it is a projection. To remember that the outer world is only ever showing you the state of your inner sanctuary. And when the sanctuary is cleansed, not with effort, but with awareness, not with striving, but with surrender, the world begins to transform with it. Because transformation does not begin with what you do. It begins with who you are being. And who you are underneath it all is divine. You came into this world radiant with divine light, not half of it, not a portion, not a fragment, but the fullness of it. Before you could speak a single word, you were the language of God made visible. Before you could grasp a single concept, you were the truth in motion. You had no idea of separation, no idea of lack. You didn't yet know what shame was, or judgment, or comparison. You simply existed unfiltered, unconditioned, untouched by identity. But then the world began to speak, and you listened. And in the listening, you began to forget. Not forget your name, but forget your nature. Not forget your goals, but forget your grace. Not forget the people around you, but forget the divine presence within you. You were taught rules, expectations, roles. You were told who to be, what to believe, how to act. And so you split. You became two selves. The true self that was eternal and the outer self that sought to survive. The true self that only wanted to shine and the outer self that learned to hide. And yet, life continued to reflect you. Not the soul you forgot, but the identity you became. Life began to mirror not the essence of your being, but the mask of your mind. It began to echo your beliefs, your wounds, your conditioned fear, because those were now the energies you were projecting. And here's the sacred paradox. Even that was not a mistake. Even your forgetting was part of the remembering. Even your pain was part of the purification. Even the false self you built was allowed to exist so that one day, in the face of its collapse, you could finally return to who you really are. This is the divine rhythm of awakening. Not a ladder to climb, not a test to pass, but a circle to complete. And in every moment, yes, even the hard ones, you are being called back to the center, not punished, not failed, but called. Called to return to the you that never needed to be fixed, only freed. You see, the mirror of life does not lie, but it also does not blame. It is neutral. It is sacred. It is wise. It gives you back exactly what you give it so that you may know yourself more clearly, so that you may come home to the parts you abandoned, so that you may reclaim the wholeness that was never truly lost, only hidden. And the longer you chase external change without internal awakening, the more distorted the reflection becomes. It is like shouting at a pond to stop rippling, even as you continue to toss stones into it. You must change your vibration, not your circumstances. Your circumstances are just the echo. You must shift your consciousness, not force the outcome. The outcome is just the reflection. You must awaken to your true nature, not manipulate your environment. The environment is only your mirror. And this is why many spiritual seekers remain stuck. They try to use spirituality to manipulate life, to pass the test, to earn the prize, not realizing that there is no prize greater than presence, no reward more divine than remembering God is not holding the finish line. God is the wind in your lungs, the stillness in your spine, the eternal within the temporary. God is not testing your devotion. God is reflecting your belief in separation and waiting for you to remember there was never any distance at all. There is no out there. There is only you and the mirror, you, and the projection, you, and the infinite playground of your own awareness made visible through time and space, and what freedom lives in this knowing. Because now you don't have to wait for life to get better in order to feel whole. You don't have to wait for others to change in order to find peace. You don't have to control the future or fix the past or explain the pain. You need only return to the stillness. You need only drop beneath the story. You need only ask one sacred question. What is this showing me? And then listen not with fear, but with love. Because whatever arises, no matter how uncomfortable, is not there to destroy you. It is there to show you where love was left out and where it is now ready to return. That is all healing is. The return of love to the places it was once denied. And life, your divine companion, will keep bringing you back to those places again and again, not as punishment, but as sacred opportunity. Opportunity to choose again, to love again, to be again, to see not just the reflection, but the light that creates it. And when you see clearly, you no longer fight with life. You dance with it. You respond instead of react. You bless instead of curse. You learn to thank even the discomfort because you know it is carrying a message, not a judgment. And that message is always this: come home. Come home to your power. Come home to your peace. Come home to the divine in you. Not because you passed the test, but because there was never a test to pass. Only a light to remember. Only a truth to reclaim. Only a self to reawaken. The mirrors you fear are often the ones most ripe with grace. That angry person, that harsh experience, that moment that cracked your heart wide open, they are not detours. They are awakenings, dressed in the garb of discomfort. They are not there to punish, but to peel away the layers of who you never were. They are invitations back to the center of your being, the divine still point beneath all suffering. The stillness where you do not need to prove or earn or beg. The stillness where you are enough, not because you finally succeeded, but because you finally stopped pretending. All this time, the reflection you called life was never trying to defeat you. It was trying to wake you up. Wake you up from the trance of forgetting, from the story of separation, from the illusion that you are anything less than sacred. And yes, some mirrors were painful. Some people arrived as storms, shaking the very ground you stood on. Some moments shattered the illusions you clung to. But even these, especially these, carried the fingerprints of grace. For it is often through our breaking that the light most clearly enters. And it is often through the mess of our becoming that the miracle is born. You were never asked to pass a test. You were asked to see what within you still believes in separation, to see where you've withheld love from yourself, from others, from this moment, to see where you have clung to the identity of the one who must suffer, and then to release it, to drop it like old skin, to surrender it, not in weakness, but in radiant trust, the kind of trust that comes when you finally understand there was never anything wrong with you. There was never a reason to be tested. There was only a forgetting. And now there is a remembering. You are not a student under judgment. You are a soul returning home. And home is not a place you arrive at after proving your worth. Home is the space you discover when you finally lay your burdens down and remember you were never separate. You were never alone. You were never unworthy. You were never forsaken. The storms you passed through were not cosmic punishments. They were reflections of your inner weather. They were the outward echoes of forgotten pain. But even in the storm, the light never left you. Even in your lowest moments, the mirror remained faithful, unblinking, honest. And now, perhaps for the first time, you can look into that mirror and no longer see shame. Now, you can see God not as someone above you, but as the light behind your eyes. Now, you can see life not as a test to be endured, but as a masterpiece in the making. Now, you can meet your reflection and say, I remember. I remember that I am not this ego, not this fear, not this history. I am not my failures. I am not my patterns. I am not my trauma. I am the awareness that watches it all. I am the light beneath the story. I am the divine, made visible for a little while, learning how to love again. And this is what life has been reflecting all along the journey, not toward perfection, but toward presence. You do not need to win your life. You need only to return to it, to live it fully, to see clearly, to love bravely, to forgive relentlessly, to shed the illusion of being tested and step into the truth of being revealed. And when you do, the reflection changes. Not because the mirror has power, but because you remembered the one who does. When you stop waiting to be worthy, life stops reflecting unworthiness. When you stop clinging to pain, life stops offering lessons in suffering. When you stop asking why it's so hard and start asking what within you is calling to be healed, the path softens. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And in your change, the mirror shifts. In your surrender, the storm clears. In your return, the illusion dissolves. There is nothing more to prove. There is nothing more to earn. There is only this breath, this sacred, miraculous breath. And in this breath, God is not far. God is not testing. God is here. God is the witness, the breath, the space, the spark. God is not handing out suffering. God is holding you in love, even when you forget what love feels like. And when you begin to live from that truth, when you stop seeing yourself as the tested and begin living as the presence behind the mirror, you become a walking reflection of grace. Not because you finally passed, but because you finally saw that there was never a test. There was only a path back to wholeness. And now the path is open. The walls are gone. The story is burning gently at your feet. And in its place, stillness, radiance, the quiet knowing that you are free. Free to let go, free to walk in love, free to see the world not as a battle, but as a blessing. Free to meet every moment, not as a threat, but as a mirror of your inner light. And oh, how that light shines now. Not because it is new, but because it is remembered. And when light is remembered, everything changes. The mirror reflects joy. The world reflects peace. Life becomes what it always was underneath the fear, a sacred echo of your own divinity. And so you rise, not because you finally earned it, but because you finally stopped dimming the truth. You rise in the fullness of your presence. You rise in the beauty of your surrender. You rise in the knowing that nothing was ever missing, only misunderstood. And now the misunderstanding is over. You see clearly. You walk gently. You live awake. You are not being tested. You are being reflected. And now, at last, you reflect love. And in the still hush of that final realization, the soul rests, not in victory, not in performance, but in peace. The soft thunder of truth echoes across your being. And in the silence that follows, you are free.